Kia ora, welcome, Dan Hooker Podcast Episode 11. Now I have a very special guest on the show today, Brogan Arm Collector Anderson. Welcome to the show, sir. If you don't know, by the end of the show, you will definitely know a bit more about my man. 14-3 professional record. I would say Brogan has the best resume for a UFC contract of any New Zealand fighter. And even moving on into Australasia. He has a handful of guys that have a resume that can qualify them for a UFC contract, which is a very tall accomplishment. So it's I would love to see it happen. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make that the next step in your career. Brogan, of course, 5-fight win streak, 9-1 in his last 10, 14-3 overall. And of your last 5 fights, 4 of those have been finishes. That's quite the accomplishment. And I was there, your last fight, down in XFC Dunedin, against Cole Davis, where you finished him in the first round with the Kimura, which again is an incredible accomplishment. And there's something else I learned down there is that you're an absolute superstar in Dunedin. You don't see that many places. I've never had a hometown crowd kind of back me like that outside of the UFC, which is quite incredible, considering because in my opinion, pretty much the only thing that makes sense is if the UFC brings a stadium show to New Zealand, if the UFC brings a pay-per-view event, we only have one covered stadium in the entire country, because of course in New Zealand you can't rely on it not raining, so it has to be in a covered stadium, and that's Forsyth Bar Stadium in Dunedin. And you're born and bred from Dunedin. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about, because I don't know even how you got into mixed martial arts and how you kind of stumbled upon it.
I was playing like footy right up until I was probably about 21 years old. I was a pretty avid gym goer. Was pretty much just working out in the gym 4 or 5 days a week as well. And Matt Toa and Api Taia, they started up a club out of the gym that I was training at, and they had a meeting on the first day. See if anybody around the area was keen, and I'd always wanted to get into martial arts, but I'd just never taken that step. So I turned up on day one and just never looked back.
Had you like watched it on TV? Because like in the past, before I actually walked in a gym, like I'd seen it growing up. I remember watching The Ultimate Fighter on TV, and there was like 2 guys lying on top of each other, and I was like, I don't want to. Oh, when I went to a gym, I was like, I just want to strike. I just want to learn how to strike. I don't want to mess around with all that lying on the ground, all that carry on. But then, like the first session, you get absolutely destroyed on the ground, and you're like, oh no, this is a lot harder than the old just stand up doesn't really work like that. So had you like seen it before in the past?
Yeah, I was. I used to watch like the K1 tournaments. They were on late at night on TV back in the day, and that was something that really got me interested in it. And that was probably the first thing that made me want to like start kickboxing or boxing. But I just never took that step, and then. I was always like a big WWE fan when I was growing up. Me and my mate used to get together and do all the moves and shit in our basement. So when Brock Lesnar made the turn over to UFC, I followed him over, loved it, and that got me hooked straight away. I remember watching. I mean, I'd watched like UFCs before that, but the first one I ever watched like intently was UFC 100. And it was just such an awesome card. I was a big fan of George St. Pierre after that, and I'm pretty sure I might have already been training a little bit by then, but that was when I really fell in love with MMA probably. Yeah,
because you've been fighting for 8 years by the looks of things now. Your first fight in 2012, so you would have really seen the sport grow down there, because from when I was down at XFC in Dunedin, the sport's massive. Like up in Auckland, I don't get recognised much because I guess I'm only at my gym or CKB. But down there, people were screaming at me when I got off in the airport. People were screaming. I'm walking down the road. People were yelling out down here, cars. So it's like there's a huge MMA fan base in Dunedin. So it would have been incredible for you to see it grow from the start. You've been following it. Well, like MMA's always been down in Dunedin, but to see what it is now and what like your coach Matt Toll has accomplished, the career he's been able to establish for you, it must talk to me a little bit about the process of how the sport has grown down in Dunedin.
Yeah, well, we used to have the fight nights. I guess Matt and his partner were running shows on a smaller scale even well before I was ever involved. But then, yeah, they just slowly got bigger. He was running shows out of the Caledonian Hall in South Dunedin. There was probably 400 or 500 people in there. I remember watching you fight on the Supremacy show down in Dunedin. That would have been 2012 maybe. Who'd you fight? Rob Basita?
I did. Rob Basita beat the crap out of me.
Yeah. Did he?
A little bit.
5-round fight, wasn't it? Yeah. So that was one of the first shows I remember going to down there. And there's been like ups and downs. I feel like sometimes if they run more than a couple of shows a year, struggle for crowds a little bit. But with the COVID thing happening,
people were just hanging out.
Once we got out the other side of it, it was just that was the biggest crowd we've ever had down there.
Wow.
And combining the XFC show with the bucket list, I think contributed to that. But yeah, that was awesome. And I've always had like a good support base down in Dunedin. I think being from a smaller town and being like, there's a few fighters down there, but being the guy that's really coming up out of there, I've got good support. Everyone kind of gets behind me, and I think that's why
Mate,
I get
do they ever?
good support down there.
I was like standing out there, and then Brogan, Anderson, the whole crowd stands up. Everyone starts screaming their lungs out, just Brogan. I was like, what the heck? I was like, kids of Dunedin superstars. I feel like, man, if the UFC need to start investing in you, they need to sign you, they need to start promoting you. So when the show comes, because I feel like it's inevitable. It's inevitable a pay-per-view comes to New Zealand. That's the only place. It's inevitable. How do you not have the hometown hero on the UFC card and not making his debut? I'm saying have the hometown hero who's already establishing himself in the UFC and getting like a crack or opportunity to move up the ranks. I feel like that to me is the perfect situation and the perfect scenario for you.
Yeah, that would be an absolute dream come true, and I've thought about that.
Because you've trained at Hammerhead with Matt Toll down in Dunedin for your entire career.
Yep.
But you've also moved. You train up at City Kickboxing with us and with the boys, with the team there. But you've also travelled overseas. You trained with at Jack's Winkinjohn. What kind of motivated you to go over there? Because I myself have done a lot of training overseas. So what motivated you to go over there and train at Jack's Wink with, that's one of the most famous gyms in the world? And what did you learn? And would you go back or you kind of found a home?
Yeah, it was always a dream of mine probably to go over there. Watching the sort of fighters that came out of there, I always felt like they had... they were always well prepared. They had good game plans. I felt like they were approaching the sport in a more intelligent way than it seemed at the time other teams were. And I'd just seen a lot of footage online of people going out and staying out in the desert there in Albuquerque, and it kind of looked like something I'd be interested in. So when I finally realised they had the dorms up and running over there, I took the leap, started going over there. First time I think I went for about 3 months. And really enjoyed the atmosphere, kind of staying in the dorms with a bunch of other guys, and then just the gym straight downstairs, being able to go down, train in the morning, come back up, just kind of live it, be surrounded by other people that were equally as motivated. And, I benefited a lot from going there. It took a while, but after a while I realised that I was getting good training there, but eventually I realised it was probably something, I think like yourself, the more time you spend over there, the more you realise that they didn't actually have everything figured out, and that there were people back home who had a lot of knowledge as well. I don't feel like the level of striking over there was anywhere near as good as what I've seen at City Kickboxing, and I had some good grappling coaching over there. Obviously, I immersed myself in the wrestling as much as I could while I was over there. and I benefited a lot. There were a lot of guys coming through from all over the world. I think similar to like it is like Tiger Muay Thai, where you've got just good quality guys clashing against each other, and they're always going to get better like that. I did really enjoy my time there, and I've got some friends there that I'll go back and see that have spread out all over the United States now. But for now, I know like I'm getting the best work I've ever got in when I come up to City Kickboxing, and the progression that I've made since I started going there is really good. So that's where I'll be basing myself. For the career. Yeah.
Awesome, bro. Awesome to have you on the show. Well, you're up here to do a little bit of training. That's why you're in Auckland. That's why you can be on the show. You're up to, how long are you up for?
Just 2 weeks.
2 weeks to get a little bit of training in. It's cool. That's what I found going overseas. It's all good, like going overseas and training, but it's hard for them. It's like, because it is like Jack's Wink will be a bit more of a transient place. A lot of the other places, like fighters come and go so often. It's hard for the coaching staff and it's hard for the teammates to invest long term in them when they know they're gonna put all this knowledge into them, put all this time into them, and eventually one day they're just gonna go home, or they're not gonna stay there. So I feel like we do have incredible knowledge here in New Zealand, but for a young fighter, you need to have that. You need to make that commitment to a team, for any team to create any kind of investment into you and put time into you and put that knowledge into you. Because if you're just gonna come and go and jump around, it's very hard for coaches to commit and invest. Boom. We'll talk a little bit about the fights that were in the weekend. Now, I know you were coming up here and you were on a plane, so you weren't able to catch him. So I'll just cover a couple. You've trained, so I want to talk about the Jaquan Buckley versus Jordan, right? You've trained with Jordan when you're over in Jackson Wink.
Yeah, we spent quite a bit of time training together, maybe the first and second time I was over there. Yeah. Really good guy. Good friend of mine. Really, really like him.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah, really good strong karate and really good grappler as well, but just probably has trouble with someone kind of jumping in and swinging those hands.
Well, that's exactly what Buckley did. He's known for that. He's known for that spinning back kick knockout, but he definitely showed another wrinkle in his game by coming in there and putting the kind of pressure on and just, man, the aggression on the kid is something that you don't generally see from anyone. Like usually you get to this stage of your career and you're like, yeah, I've been clipped a couple of times, but this kid seems a little bit more indestructible at the moment, and he's kind of riding that momentum. A fight I was heavily invested in watching was the Mourinho Royval, just because I've seen, I've spent a little bit of time studying them because I had Kai on the show, and he told me a little bit more about them, but just, I've seen them both fight Kai, so I wanted to see how they matched up against each other. Just Mourinho looked to just be a bit more experienced and have a few more wrinkles in his game than Royval. Very unfortunate way to end the fight. Dislocated shoulder. I know because I've trained with guys in the past that happens to, and I know how big of that's something that's just going to continue to happen. I know how big of an investment for a fighter it is to get something like that fixed. That's a pretty serious surgery, and that's a good amount of time off. That's like a 6 months, 9 months, no training. And for, a guy like the Royval, who's just breaking and making a name for himself in the UFC, to take a year off fighting, a year not making money for his family, and a year not moving towards his goal would be pretty difficult for him. That's a very tall test, very hard ask for a young fighter to make, when, it might stay in, it might come out. Like it's a coin flip, that one. So pretty unfortunate, but I definitely feel like Mourinho will earn the next shot at the title, and I feel like he definitely deserves it over a fighter like Cody Garbrandt coming down and just jumping in the division. I feel like Mourinho's a future superstar. Paul Craig, Shogun Rua, that was tough for me. I'm a huge Shogun guy. That's like one of my OG favorites. I was like sitting there getting ground and pounded, and I was just like, please just stop it. I was just saying to the ref, I was thinking, man, just stop it. I feel like a little piece of me died inside when he like tapped the strikes. Because, you know, you're just from like the old school, you know, you're from like the old school train of thought where you just like, that to me, that fight to me, that moment to me was like, when you see a guy like Shogun tap the strikes, I was like, this is a sport now. This is no longer fighting, you know what I mean? This is elevated to a sport. Little piece of me died on the inside. Caitlin Shook again, pretty dominant victory over Calvillo. She was an underdog, which is pretty crazy. I think she was paying $3.
Yeah,
$3, and it was a pretty clinical, pretty obvious victory for her. Tim Means gets the win over Mike Perry. That was an incredible fight. Mike Perry had Tim Means in deep water in the first round, had his back, was sinking in the choke. Tim was able to turn it around just with his level of striking, and he did show his experience. He did show, his way that he was able to avoid the big power of Mike Perry and just chip away. So when Mike Perry started to come forward, I just feel like Tim Means had accumulated too much damage. Just those small gloves. You can wanna walk someone down, and you can know that you have to get in there, eat a few shots, and come over the top. But when someone's like touched you for 5 minutes, 7 minutes with those small gloves, it's like they've already pre-marinated your face. It's like they've just stood there with the steak and the hammer, and they've hit it, and they've marinated that steak. So when Mike Perry was like, all right, I'm going to have to eat a few shots, I'm going to have to get in there and let these bombs go, he was already marinated by that point. Tim just had to touch him, had to sit down on a few more shots. Mike Perry just starts getting busted up, getting opened up. But yeah, Tim's a guy that I feel like warrants a fight like this, warrants an opportunity like this. I followed his career for so long. I've watched him for so long. I feel like he's an incredible guy. I feel like he's a guy capable of going on like a Masvidal run. He's invested that much time. He knows the sport. He understands the sport. I feel like a few finishes, which he's entirely capable of getting, knocking a few guys out after this fight, after this big Mike Perry fight, he can really make a name for himself, and he can really get to where I feel like a fighter like Tim Means deserves to be, which is at the top of his division. Shevchenko, Maya gave us some trouble. Well, Maya, wrestling heavy fight. Maya got a takedown, got on top for a bit, and then I think the commentators got a little bit distracted by that, and it was like one takedown for like a couple minutes, and they were talking like it was a 50-50 fight. It was like a 4-round-to-1 fight for Shevchenko. It was like someone takes one round. Oh, I guess this was an $8 underdog. When an $8 underdog gets a hit of you like that, I guess it is a surprise. It was like back in the old Ronda Rousey days. I think someone used to land a couple punches and they were like, they're doing good. Figueiredo, Perez, pretty quick guillotine finish there. Figueiredo looked dominant. He's got to snatch up a few necks in the past. But I'll be looking forward to that Mourinho fight, because I don't think that Mourinho's quite susceptible to that guillotine choke. I feel like he's on another level. Another thing I wanted to talk about from this weekend, JJ Wilson, the Moldy kid. I feel like he definitely deserves a shout out. He fought on Bellator 253 just in this past weekend. He got an overhand knockout in 20 seconds of the first round. He was able to put this kid down, and he was the barriers of 5-1 professional. Well, he's 5-1 now. They were both undefeated. They were both 5-0 coming into the fight. So to fight another hungry young prospect on the exact same record as you, undefeated, 5 wins, and to knock him out in 20 seconds, I feel like it's only green lights for JJ. 7-0 as a professional, undefeated, fighting in Bellator. Incredible to see another Kiwi, Moldy kid, over there making a huge name for himself in the US. He's living and training, I think, where is it, California?
Somewhere in California.
Somewhere in California.
San Diego, I'm not 100% sure.
Dominant. I can't wait to see what that kid, but I just needed to shout him out because I feel like it's incredible. I feel like he he's going to make a mainstream name for himself here in New Zealand and around the world. Very impressive. Cover a little bit of what's coming up. Oh no, there was one more show. I said to you, Fight Circus. Did you watch Fight Circus? He said, what's that? Let me tell you. I'm here to tell you all about Fight Circus. So Fight Circus was also on the weekend. John Nutt, the Full Metal Dojo boys. Madness. If you don't know what it is, Fight Circus, John Nutt in Thailand put on another show, another incredible show with the craziest combat sports show in the world, hands down. He had a 2-on-1 fight. That one was pretty one-sided. Just one of them's distracting, the other one kicked him in the face, kicked old Ali in the face, and that fight was stopped. They had a 3-on-1 fight, and that fight was fight of the night for me. And that was actually a pretty competitive fight, to be honest, for 3 guys, and they were not mugs. They had they were all in reasonably good shape. They were fighting a monster, the kickboxer they were fighting. But I think he was fighting 2 of them, the big bloke, 2 of them at once. And then the other one was gonna just stand in and tag, like if one of the 2 wanted to go over and tag. But the big fella who was fighting a 3, he just walks over and he dropped the guy outside the ropes. So then the guy outside the ropes got pissed off. He climbed into the ring. He climbed under the ropes. And then it just became an onslaught, like a 3-on-1 onslaught. And the guy that he dropped, he was like, 2 of them were grappling him, and he was like doing like 12-6 elbows, and he was just dirty, man. He was like throwing dog shots. Like 2 would distract him. He'd just come up, punch him in the back of the head. Oh, I don't know who that guy is, but he's an egg. He's an egg. There was also a Indian leg wrestling bout. There was the women's Indian leg wrestling championship. That, I can't say was the greatest idea I've ever seen. I like the 3-on-1. I like the 2-on-1. Can't say that was a great idea. They had bare knuckle boxing as well. This is one more fight. This is one that sounded like a great idea at the time, but then it didn't turn out. It was a spinning strike only fight. So you're only allowed to throw spinning attacks. But there's a reason why there's not that many spinning finishes, and the fighters that throw them take a lot of time to set them up, or a lot of time to master them, because it's pretty obvious if I just turn around and try and hit you. So it was like 2 guys spinning back fist, but it becomes predictable because there's only one way to set up a spinning technique, and that's by throwing something straight and then spinning. So it was pretty stagnant. Sounded like a good idea. I'm not sure John's going to bring that one back, but I definitely enjoyed the 3-on-1, 2-on-1, bare knuckle boxing, Leifway, crazy event. Check it out, Fight Circus 2. I think it's for free. So you just Google that, and I believe it will come up. Big show here in New Zealand. What night is that? Saturday night? I think it is Saturday. Born to Fight. Where is my... Yeah, Born to Fight. It's going down to the YMCA Saturday night here in New Zealand. Main event. So there's two world title fights. One full Thai rules, and then the other one Lapa. Have you trained with him?
Yeah. A friend of mine from down home. We've been training together for a few years, and the other fella, Robert Dean, as well. He's fighting lower down on the card. 2 Dunedin boys. Yeah. 2 pretty experienced, good quality kickboxers. So looking forward to seeing them fight.
Yeah, well, Lapa's fighting Bob Armstrong. Bob's he's had a lot of fights here in New Zealand, and he was doing some pretty big things in Japan, and then he moved home back to New Zealand. So that's a great fight as a main event. Also on the card, there's a couple MMA fights that I wanted to talk about. Hakaraya Wilson is fighting Fergus the Future Jenkins. Now these 2 both fought on XFC, both got 2 rear naked choke victories in the first round. Very quick rear naked choke victories. So I feel like these are 2 of the biggest young amateur prospects in the country in New Zealand. So don't miss this card. Catch that. Also, Kyle Murtag's fighting Ollie Schmidt. Again, another 2 hot young prospects. Ollie, I was at Shuriken when he got the TKO victory. man, get to this huge MMA action in the ring. I like to fight. Have you had many fights in the ring, MMA?
One, I believe.
I like it. You can't take me down in a ring. If you take me down, I just skid out.
Yeah, just scoot out.
I do the old, like they press you into the ropes, and as soon as you hit the ropes, you just whip your arm around a rope.
Yeah.
And then get an underhook. And so then they're trying to take you down, and you're like, oh, sorry, ref.
Yeah.
Sorry, ref. And the amount of times I've done this one, where they're like, oh, yeah, he's caught in the ropes. They break it. They go, break. And then as soon as they break, I'll skip around to the middle of the ring. And then they're like, no, go back against the ropes. He had against the ropes. Go back against the ropes. So I was like, I'm on the ropes. I'm out in the open. I'm out in the open. What do you mean on the... What? And the ref's going, get back on the ropes to the position you were in. But I'm in this position now. What? Why would I? What? And the ref eventually, he gets fed up with arguing with you and just says start.
Yeah.
And you get off the ropes. I'm a very difficult man to fight. Very difficult man to referee. Nothing but love. Okay, we'll jump into some Twitter questions. I feel like my Twitter is starting to show their true colors. Ooh, this is a good question. I like this. Is San Antonio still your favorite American city? Yes, it is. San Antonio, Texas. It's been good to me. I love it. That's definitely my favorite place. Mike Williams, if they aren't bound for the hospital, do fighters catch up for a beer to reminisce about the fight like in rugby? I have done. I'm sure you have done.
Yeah, definitely.
Many times in the past. Just depends. Sometimes you finish the fight and you feel like you might fight the guy again, or like might have a rematch, and then I might. Maybe I want to get drunk with him. I don't know. Yes and no. Sometimes you beat someone up and you still don't like them. It does happen. Big J, Angus Judson. Would you ever be a coach for Tough if you had the opportunity? Probably too soon. Probably too soon at the moment. I feel like I would do it later down the track. I feel like that's that's a tough one, because I feel like, are you showing too many of your cards on TV? You know, you're bringing all your coaches in and you're expecting them to just give a bunch of knowledge to a bunch of fighters they don't really care about either. So I'm not saying for me, I feel like I could do it, but to get my coaches to do it would be the difficult part, because like any good coach, they don't just give you something for nothing. You have to invest in them. You have to kind of earn that knowledge from them for them to kind of give you anything. So yes, I would do it. Would I have any coaches to do it with me? Unlikely. Who else we got? Long Dong Jones. What's your pick for fight of the year? Felder Hooker, Dustin Hooker, or the inevitable barn burner of Gagey Hooker? That surely needs... Yeah, I feel like that'll be the 2021 fight of the year. Dustin versus me. Oh no, Justin. Not Dustin. I already fought. Justin Gagey, Dan Hooker. I feel like that's the fight. Am I going to fight at welterweight? No. They always ask me that. Who's your personal... Holland time, Uncle Chael Uncle. Who's your personal pick for fighter of the year? That's a tough one. Who's going on the streak?
Figueiredo's going to fight again next month. If he wins, then he's going to be a strong contender.
Then that's 3, right?
It might even be 4 this year.
Well, did he beat Joby twice this year?
I'm not sure if the first one was maybe.
He's gone on quite the streak. I feel like they threw that in there. They mentioned it. I feel like you can't overlook Khabib, but has he fought more than once?
Don't think so.
Yeah, that's an incredibly quick turnaround. Yeah, they booked that. They booked that fight. They verbally agreed to that fight, Moreno versus Figueiredo. Man, that's wild that they would turn that around. Imagine preparing for a 5-rounder and then in 3 more weeks, you go for another 5-rounder. Stay in Vegas. At least you're already fit. Pyro, is Brogan a bogan? I don't know. You tell me.
Probably when I was a teenager, I was a little bit. But got away from that.
Thomas Muir, when and who are you fighting next? Questions for both of you. I would like to fight early next year. Who? I want to fight Justin Gaethje. And I feel like I've made that pretty clear. Well, now that Tony Ferguson, I'm getting asked about that. Tony Ferguson and Charles Oliveira is fighting. That's a great fight. That's a great fight. I feel like that's definitely going to hit the deck. Well, just from watching interviews and things like that. Tony Ferguson doesn't wrestle. He doesn't train wrestling, or he doesn't have a wrestling coach. He just works on his striking and then his jits. So if you're not training wrestling and then you're against, the guy with the best submissions, there's a very high chance that fight hits the deck. And then when that fight hits the deck, I think it's a pretty even contest. I feel like if it's on the feet, Tony Ferguson kind of destroys Charles on the feet.
Maybe bullies him a wee bit, yeah.
Yeah, maybe just bullies him with his size and with his aggression. I feel like Charles gets a little bit gun shy when he gets put under the pump. But if it's a deck, which I think it will hit the deck, I think it's a pretty 50-50 contest. Nick, would you consider fighting Michael Chandler? I'd consider it. I feel like he's kind of losing a bit of his when he came in and they had him as the backup for the title, like he came in with a hiss and a roar, but then he kind of turns down the Tony Ferguson fight because he didn't want to make weight again, which is pretty, I don't know, you lose a bit of your thunder, because that was he was all piss and vinegar when he first
yeah.
I'll fight anyone, I'll take the short notice fight, but then only a month in and he's like, oh wait, no, oh hold up, I had to make weight a couple weeks ago. It's like, come on bro, come on man. Okay, they're just asking the same. Kyle Dale.
That's a cob from back home.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Dan, who do you see Brogan matching up well against in the UFC? Same question. Oh. The UFC, and the same question for Brogan. So who I will match up? Justin Gaethje, I'm going to say that again, just because I say it 5 times a show, and I still don't have a fight with him. Cobb? Well, that's the thing about the UFC. And it's the thing about making your way into the UFC is you don't have to pick. You get who you're given when you first sign that contract. So it's just when you do get that opportunity, you do get that first contract for the UFC, you need to be ready to fight anyone. I feel like the skills are there, the development's there, all the tools are there for you to definitely be prepared to fight anyone in the UFC. MMA casual. Why is your dick so small?
Wow.
But is it? Call me the hangman for no reason. Anyway, we'll wrap up the show. It's been a pleasure, Brian. It's been a pleasure for me to tell you, the people that watch this show, all about you. Get to know them. Don't miss it. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you inside the UFC octagon in no time. But thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Thanks for having me on, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeehaw.